Hello everyone. Today we'll discuss how to find domain and range of a polynomial function. Okay. Um. So let's just have a general polynomial function. This is a general polynomial function. Okay. So here you see n is a degree. Okay. N is a degree. So it might have degree, right? And here a is a coefficient. Coefficient. Okay. Now for the domain, look, this is like a machine, right? In the machine, whatever input you gave, you get an output. So this is our domain. The input, the x values here are the domain, and whatever the output we get, that's mean our fx values, that will be our range, right? Now let's talk about the how to let's talk about the degrees, number of degrees, how it defined. So so let's say if you in the domain, let's say if you put 0 here, what do you get? You get here in this function, you get just a0. That's when you get constant. So this is an example of a function. Let's say f of x equal 3. So in this case, we already know since it's a linear and there is a constant, so the domain is negative infinity to positive infinity. So the range will be all the time is exactly y equal 3, right? Since here we have y, so y has to be equal 3, okay? No matter what values you put, you get y is always 3. That will be our range, right? Now let's talk about when we have the odd degrees. So let's bring the function again. Let's say this is our function, right? Let's say we have the odd degree. What's going to happen? What's going to be domain or range, right? So whenever we have the odd degree, our domain is all the time. So we can put any domain here. It doesn't matter. Let's say we have x plus 3, right? We can just put any domain here. Any x values here. This means our domain is going to be any x values, so negative infinity, positive infinity. So you can just write down domain is all the x values, right? All the possible x values. Okay. Now what will happen, why what's gonna happen when you see the range? For the range, it's gonna be the same thing. Let's say f of x you have here, then all f of x equal x cubed plus 4x squared plus 2, right? So you can put any x values and you'll get any y values. That means any x values, defined x values, you will get any kind of defined y values. So the range is actually from gonna be same thing. O y gonna be all the real number. Okay. When you have the odd degrees, it doesn't matter whatever you put here. So simply whenever you see the odd degrees in the polynomial function, just write it down. Domain is always uh, x all the real number, and the range is always y all the real number. Okay. Now let's look at it when what happened when we have the even degrees, right? Let's just bring the function here again. Let's paste the function here. Okay. So when we see the even degrees, right, it's the same thing. Domain, it doesn't matter. Whatever, you can put any x values. It doesn't matter. It's going to be still defined, right? So if you put any x values, you get, let's say you get x all the real number, okay? How about the range? Since you can look at it, the range, let's do an example. It will help you. Let's say we have an function f of x equal 2x squared plus 5. Now, once we have the even number, it doesn't matter what value you put. Let's say you put f of 0, right? You get 2 0 squared plus 5, which is 7. Sorry, which is 5. My mistake. Which is 5, right? Since 2 0 square is going to be give you 0 plus 5, which is 5. Now you can put any negative number. Since is power is even, right? It will actually give you a positive number. So any even number, so you can have, once you have the even number, any x values, right? Let's say you have -1, any negative values, still you're gonna get 2 -1 squared plus 5. You see, you get 7. So you get the positive values. It doesn't matter, it's negative and positive, you always get the positive values here. Since you get the positive values, it's gonna be more than 5 all the time, no matter what. What does it tell us? It tell us that for the x values, whenever we have do that, for the even functions, for the even degree of a polynomial function, we always guess the range is always y is gonna be, for this function, y is gonna be more than 5 or equal to 5. So always true for any even function. So in terms of let's write down in terms of general formulas. So let's just, we have for this function, let's say we have, let's write down a general formula like this: f of x equal ax, let's say square, any even function, it doesn't matter, plus 4 plus d, let's say plus d or plus b. So in this situation, if a is positive, the range is always y is more than b and all the real numbers. Okay, and y is all the real numbers. So if it is, a is positive, right? I said when a is positive, remember that. But what if a is negative? So when a is negative, let's say you have negative, range is always, since it's negative, it's gonna flip. So range is always gonna be less than b, and that's when y is gonna be less than b, and y is all the real number. Okay. So if it's confusing, guys, let's do some practice so that will make sense for you guys. So here, you see, we have x is even number. That's mean we have to follow the formula. So domain is always from -infinity to let me just write it down this way. X is all the real number, okay? And for the range, however, we know since here the coefficient is 1 and it's positive, so it's gonna be y is always either equal to 0 or either equal to 3 or more than 3, okay? That's the range, and y is all the real number. So for here is the same thing, we have even number, right? So it's gonna be same thing again. Domain is gonna be x, all the real number, and the range going to be y is more than whatever constant we have. If we have 13, we write it down 13, whatever constants we have. Since the coefficient is positive, but for our, when our degrees are odd, right, it just simply means our domain is just x, all the real number, and range is y is all the real number. Okay, but here we see we again have the even number. You see the degree is even and the coefficient is and the constant is 9. So we don't care anything else. So the domain is just simply x, all the real number, and the range is just, we look at the coefficient here. Coefficient here is 1 and it is positive, and the constant is 9, right? Constant is 9, coefficient is 1. So it simply means y is either 9 or more than 9, right? it cannot be less than 9, okay, and y is all the real number. Okay, now let's do this one again. Let's we have this function, right? What this function we have, you see the degree is negative, odd. Since the degree is odd number, that means we don't care what we have here. It simply means our domain is just x all the real number, and our range y will be all the real number, since it's an odd function, right? Now let's do this one, practice this one. We have f of x minus x to the power 5 x to the 5 plus 3. Here domain, we all care about what we have here first. So since it's the odd number, so we don't care what we have here. So it's gonna be, domain gonna be from x all the real number, and the range is gonna be y all the real number. Okay. Now let's look at another example where we have coefficient is negative. So let's just do it. So let's say we have f of x equal negative x, let's say x power 16 plus, let's say 5. So since we see the degree is the even number, right? So that's mean the domain, let's just do write down domain. Domain is always x all the real number. And the range here is gonna be, you see, since it's negative, so if we do the graph, you'll see the graph is downward, right? Something like that, whatever degrees we have here, but it's gonna be downward. Since there will be a point 5, that's gonna be maximum point, then it's gonna be downward, okay? So since it's gonna be downward, that's mean our y value either 5, right, or 5 or more than 5. Since it's negative, it's gonna flip. So our sign gonna be either 5 or less than 5. That's gonna be a range, okay, and y all the real number. So that's all, guys. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. And next video we will do the root function and rational functions.